Yo, what up? What up? It's your boy Mots. It's another episode of the W.E.S.T podcast, the last episode of 2025. So I want to say happy holidays to everybody. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. Hope everybody got a lot of nice gifts, and I hope everybody remembered the real reason for the season. So yeah, we getting down to it, wrapping up another year. I've been blessed. I've had a pretty up and down 2025. For those of you that don't know, February I was in the hospital. I had heart failure, technically died, for lack of a better word. And I bounced back, found out a lot of new things, had a change in my lifestyle, had a drastic change in my lifestyle. But I'm thankful that I made it, thankful that I learned from that, and I'm trying to basically make everything that happens to me, everything that I go through, I'm trying to make that a learning experience from now on going forward. So anyway, there's always this question, just pivoting, that everybody gets asked. If you were on a desert island and you can only watch one show, one thing, for life or for the time you were stranded on the desert island, my answer is always wrestling. Because wrestling, it's always on TV, and there's always new episodes, unless you're TNA, which I'll get into later. But basically, the storylines are ongoing, and there's really never any time for like replays or like reruns. It's always new content every week because they got to keep the storyline going. So that's why wrestling would be my number one, or my show that I would pick if I were stranded on a desert island. So aside from that, let's get into the news of the week.
The big story of the week was this.
Okay, the one big story this week was Sports Illustrated picked their wrestling awards, and AEW swept all the top categories. Best wrestling promotion. You had Hangman Page and Mercedes Moné winning Male and Female Wrestler of the Year. FTR Tag Team of the Year. Kyle Fletcher Breakout Star of the Year. Will Ospreay winning Best in the Ring. And that's pretty much a sweep for AEW, which consequently will probably alter Becky Lynch's promos going forward, because she was mentioning that she was mentioned last year as Sports Illustrated's best female wrestler. So I'm sure that's going to change her promos now. Especially, I'm pretty sure that WWE is probably going to never want to mention Sports Illustrated on any of its shows anytime soon. But speaking of shows, let's see what show is. All right, so I go through all the wrestling shows, since wrestling is on Saturday through Saturday, basically every night of the week. I go through and kind of let you know what's going on the wrestling show itself by just giving you the main event, because the main event is all you need to know everything that's going on in the storyline of that show. So kicking it off, Saturday night, we got Collision on TNT at 5 p.m. You had Kevin Knight defeating Okada, surprisingly. And it actually aired early because they were in England. And what I didn't mention last Saturday, during John Cena's last match, it was two things. Collision aired early because they were overseas in Europe, in the UK, where their time is earlier than ours. And two, I'm pretty sure that wasn't a coincidence, because they didn't want to run up against Saturday night's main event and John Cena's last match. Okay, so like I said, Kevin Knight upset Okada in the Continental Classic tournament. Then we go to Monday nights, which is Raw on Netflix at 5 p.m. Looks like Bronson Reed and Austin Theory, the newest member of the Vision, the Masked Man, teamed up, and they defeated Rey Mysterio and CM Punk. And after the match, Braun Breaker, who will face CM Punk on January 5th for the heavyweight title, jumped him after the match. And with a little bit of help from Austin Theory as a distraction, Braun Breaker was able to spear CM Punk and leave him laying after the show went off the air. All right, so Tuesdays, NXT on the CW at 5 o'clock. So a couple things going on there. You had Thea Hale address the crowd after accidentally winning the women's North American title last week. So that situation, if you don't know, it was a huge controversy last week because it was supposed to be Blake Monroe, formerly known in AEW as Mariah May. She was supposed to be defending her women's North American title versus Thea Hale, a young and upcoming star in NXT. So what happened was Blake was on the mat. Thea Hale came off the ropes, basically with a almost like a trust fall move. She basically bounced off the ropes and landed with her back on Blake Monroe. And the referee counted 3, but Blake Monroe was supposed to kick out, apparently. Now, just a little bit without going into the deep waters of that. So, even though the referee knows the finish of the match and they know who's supposed to win, basically, when there's a pin, their instructions are to try and count a 3. It's up to the wrestlers to kick out. So the fact that Blake didn't kick out, it was pretty much her fault, and it was probably that she got the wind knocked out of her and didn't have the physical capacity to kick out. There's a lot of rumors on the internet if you go look, but basically that's what happened. She was actually supposed to win the match, but the referee counted 3, and they had to basically go through with it, and Thea Hale won. So this week, she, took to the crowd, and they set it up to where Mariah May or Blake Monroe came out and interrupted her. And so they're now going to fight on New Year's Evil, which is the next TNA PLE Premium Live event. Then you had my boy Shiloh Hill. He teamed up with Skylar Ray. They both won this past season of LFG. And if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like the new NXT. Because when NXT started, it was basically WWE Next. They just took out the E. They were trying to find people, just like it was a reality show, and they were trying to find a man and a woman who would become the next WWE superstar. And so from that show, that's where NXT was born, and it's now its own kind of wrestling promotion. So my boy Shiloh Hill, I actually knew him before I knew he was a wrestler. So he and I are actually friends on Instagram, and we've talked back and forth before. I known him because I was, scrolling Instagram, and he does a lot of stuff about the dark web because he went to college. I forgot what college, but it's a really good college for computer science, and I forgot what else, but he knows how to hack. He knows everything about computers, and he knows a lot about the dark web. So he would just show on his Instagram a lot about the dark web. And so I, ended up, following him, and lo and behold, I'm like, oh, you're in the WWE? I haven't seen you. And I'm like, oh, he's in their developmental program. And he ended up on LFG and won it. And so he teamed up against Stax and Santino Marella's daughter, who is Ariana Grace. and she's the actual daughter of the TNA, I guess, general manager Santino Marella, who was a WWE star back in the day. So this was a Christmas mixed tag Christmas chaos match. So they had like presents and everything. It was a really good match too. Shiloh is actually really good at computers. He's actually good at wrestling too. So I think he's going to be a really big star, you know, going forward. So shouts out to Shiloh. And then really in the main event, which wasn't really a main event, it was Ricky Starks and Javon Evans kind of in a face-off. And they're talking about their upcoming match at New Year's Evil. And pretty much Javon Evans, Ricky Starks had already been, or Ricky Saints, I should say. He's Ricky Starks in AEW. So Ricky Saints had already been a big star in AEW. But Javon Evans made a point saying, hey, you know, you may say this or that about me, that I'm young or whatever, but evidently Triple H and the general managers of Raw and SmackDown saw enough to call me up to the main roster before you. And you were supposedly a star somewhere else. So what does that say? So that kind of bit Ricky the wrong way. So that was NXT. The main event, actually, NXT, there was a women's match. It was Chelsea Green, the Women's U.S. Championship, defending against Sol Ruca from NXT. And Chelsea Green, with a little bit of cheating, you know, defended her U.S. title successfully. So that was cool to see Chelsea Green go down to NXT. Chelsea Green is not only just a really gifted and talented wrestler, she actually came up through NXT, to so to speak. She actually was a reality star on like an NXT, if I'm not correct, or an NXT type program. That's where she came up from. And she's been in the business, I believe, between 10 and 20 years, I want to say like between like good 15 at least. So yeah, she is no slouch, and she is, from what I've heard in her interview she's been on with my boys at ESPN LA, she's a really cool person just in general. So shouts out to Chelsea Green. Didn't have that on your bingo card, huh? Chelsea Green shout out. And on Wednesday we moved to Dynamite. Wednesdays on TBS at 5 p.m. It was another main event, Continental Classic match. It was Jungle Jack Perry, the son of Beverly Hills 90210's Luke Perry. I kid you not, this is R.I.P. rest in peace Luke Perry, his son Jack Perry, and he is a damn good wrestler. He actually defeated Pac, the Bastard Pac, in a Continental Classic match for the main event. And that match was a great match. He won it unconventionally, so shouts out to you, Jack Perry. Alright, so now we move to Thursdays with TNA. And this time, TNA, like I said in the beginning, wrestling is always new. Wrestling is always running new shows. While everybody else is doing their year-end reviews and kind of going over the best of 2025, wrestling is always moving forward. What's new, what's next? Except for TNA, which kind of is a downer for me. So every year about this time, they do like a Christmas special, which ends up being like a best of 2025. So luckily, Collision aired on Thursday instead of Saturday, because Saturday is World's End. So Thursday, we have a double shot of Collision this week. Okada defeated Speedball Mike Bailey in the Continental Classic, and so it's come down to him and fellow Don Callis member Kinoshita Takeshita. I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong, like when I'm not on camera, I always get it right. Kinoshita Takeshita. Anyway, so the former Continental Classic and the national champion Okada will take on the IWGP, basically Japan's champion Takeshita, in a semifinals match. So Okada is trying to keep up his streak. He's won the tournament ever since they've had it for like the last, what, 3 years or so. So Okada is the best tournament wrestler ever. He's won every tournament when he was in Japan. So that's going to be an interesting match. And SmackDown. That main event was really a face-off between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes. As you know, Drew McIntyre was suspended a couple weeks ago for claymoring a referee. And in order to come back and be fully reinstated, he had to pay a fine and apologize to the referee. But in turn, he negotiated with Nick Aldis that he would stipulate his championship match coming up with Cody Rhodes. And so he did close the show. He gave the check to Nick Aldis for his suspension fine. He did apologize to the ref after insulting him and bringing his wife into it. And he challenged Cody Rhodes to a triple stages of hell. Now, what's the triple stages of hell? It's basically a 3-prong match where the first one is, the first fall is first one to pin. I believe the second fall, I'm probably going to have to correct this on next week, but the second fall is submission, whoever wins by submission. And the third fall, or the actual winner of the match, is decided in the third fall, which is Hell in a Cell. So that's going to be interesting. I know I may be like a little bit off on the details, so whatever I missed, I will clear up on an episode of the W.E.S.T vlog or next week. But anyway, I want to say the show that's living their best week, I'm going to give it to Collision, because one, we got a double dose of Collision, and it's right on the heels of AEW sweeping the Sports Illustrated Awards. So AEW is doing big things. I also learned, actually last night, that Tony Khan has made creative directive changes. He's actually more hands-on this year, which led them to winning the Sports Illustrated and sweeping those awards, because he now kind of takes over the final decision instead of everything being worked out in a committee, but he runs everything by the committee. But everything in the Continental Classic, these are actually some good matches, because normally the Continental Classic, when that comes around every year, I'm like, oh man. But this time it actually made wrestlers who would not normally face each other on a normal circumstance face each other. So we got some really interesting combinations. You had Death Riders going against Death Riders, tag teams going against each other, the Don Callis family members going up against each other. So it's been interesting. When we come back, we're going to have Mott Sports West, What You Watching, and we're going to talk food and travel.
Has bad credit been holding you back from getting a new car, a house, or a better job? Visit creditrepairfolks.com. They offer one-on-one consulting and will give you a personal roadmap to removing negative items and adding positive points to your credit score. The first consultation is free, and they're the only ones that offer a money-back guarantee. They also have payment plans available. So what are you waiting for? Visit creditrepairfolks.com today.
Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked. That's the great thing about sports. And play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins.
All right, y'all. It's Mott Sports West, where we talk about the 3 teams that matter, the only teams that matter on the West Coast: Lakers, Dodgers, and Rams. And there's a lot to get into this week, so I'm going to jump right into it with the Rams. So immediately after Thursday's loss against the Seahawks, Puka Nacua again took to Twitter. I didn't get into it last week, but He's been in kind of hot water lately about his interview with Aiden Ross and another couple of YouTubers or streamers that are just into, stirring the pot, into creating controversy or provocative content. And they tried to get him to do an anti-Semitic touchdown celebration. They got him to kind of bash the refs, which was a bad look. So it looks like he didn't stop after the game. He took to Twitter right after the game and kind of said basically something to the effect of, "Was I lying? Thank you, Stripes, for your contribution." And his tweet, he tried to take it down within minutes, but it was up long enough to get caught by the media and to get caught by the NFL. So he ended up getting fined $25,000 for that. But when he was asked about it, he gave a good answer to me. He said, "Hey, I was in a moment of frustration," and he said in the future that he'll have to do better on and off the field, something to that extent. And I like that answer, and I trust that answer. Also, that was a BS call on the 2-point conversion. Everybody knows that, so it's just Puka, you can't say it out loud. So anyway, where does that put the Rams? So the Rams right now are at the number 6 seed. They do have a spot in the playoffs guaranteed. It's just where they will play. So the Rams do have a chance to get back into number 1 in their division and number 1 in the NFC. But a couple things have to happen. So they have to win both of their upcoming games against the Falcons, which will be Monday night, and the Cardinals, which will be on the Sunday after that. So in addition to that, the 49ers and the Seahawks have to drop at least one of their next 2 games. The 49ers play the Bears, the Seahawks play the Carolina Panthers, and then the next game after that, they play each other. So that one is a guaranteed loss. So if those things happen, then the Rams could possibly take back the number 1 spot in the division and in the NFC conference. So, all right, let's get to the Lakers. They had a 1996 loss to the Rockets on Thursday. They're holding steady at number 4, but we'll see what happens with that. Sadly, the Lakers never led in the game. It was a wire-to-wire victory by the Rockets. They play the Kings again tomorrow at 6:30. The Dodgers this week, Clayton Kershaw, who is now retired, took to Instagram with his wife Ellen to announce the birth of their 5th child on December 19th. Chloe Peach Kershaw, so welcome. Mookie Betts is actually keeping busy also. He last Tuesday played an 18-hole round of golf with former President Barack Obama. And later that day, he was on a taping of ABC's comedy show Shifting Gears that same day. So, Mookie Betts is doing TV. I'm not doing TV, but I'm definitely watching. So we're going to see what you watching. Okay. So, I have yet to see Stranger Things Volume 2. But what I have been able to keep up with is Fallout Season 2. So if you guys aren't up on Fallout, it's basically the show that's made off the game of the same name, Fallout. So it's based on a post-nuclear post-apocalyptic world, and the government or these companies have come together to set up these quote-unquote vaults for people to live in for generations until the radiation goes away and the regular, the ground is, or the outside is safe to live on. Only the outside world, outside of the Welts, has grown and mutated and become a dangerous and treacherous world. And there are still some people that were involved in the corporations that still survived, including the main character's dad, who is the main villain of the show. They're still seeking to, gain control over this post-apocalyptic world now that everybody is, pretty much scraping to survive in this radioactive, people and animals being mutated and everything. So it's a pretty good show. I recommend watching it if you aren't already. It's on Amazon Prime Video. And it's on season 2. Season 1 is a crazy watch. It's a lot of comedy too, so good for that. All right. Now, getting into food and travel. I will be back in St. Louis, so I'm going to bring you something. I don't know. I'm going to try and get some recommendations, and I will review a spot in St. Louis, and I will bring that to you on the first episode of 2026. So, with that being said, I will see y'all on the other side, and see me next week for another episode of the W.E.S.T podcast. Peace.